Welcome, everyone. My name is Kelly Bednar. I am the Director of Education here at the National BPAA in Arlington, Texas. But here, I'm just the host today for the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association presentation for the new requirements for your state. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Kathy Lightgib, your State Executive Director. Kathy.
Good morning. Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. Our New York State BPA President, Brian Borowski, reached out to BPAA when the state of New York announced their mandatory anti-sexual harassment training requirement for all New York State employees. BPAA's Education Department has put together a customized program working with our lobbyists, our members, and the state of New York, which will provide the tools that are needed to meet the New York State requirements. We will have available to you a link on our website, which will provide additional information for the New York State requirements, and also a link to the Bowling University website for the training that you are about to learn. So this is something that we're very proud of to be able to offer to our members. We have a subscription service that provides all of the online classes and on-demand classes at no charge to our members, so this certainly will help you in this process. So again, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the information on the webinar.
Thank you, Kathy. And then also with us today, we have Brian Borowski, the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association President. Brian.
Yes, thanks for joining us today. This is very important. Anytime New York State decides to create new laws, we need to try to make it as easy as possible for our members. So getting with Kelly and everyone on the staff at BPAA, we're able to present this to you and your employees. The great thing about this is you can have your employees do it at their leisure. You'll receive information once they've completed the course, and it will also send a reminder every year, because this needs to be done every single year, this course. So it's just a great benefit for being part of the New York State BPA.
Well, we thank you both for reaching out to us. We at National have no idea what's going on the state level. So without you guys reaching out to us and requesting for us to do this, we wouldn't have known to even go this direction. So it is you're a state association that took a nice proactive route to get ahead of this before it came into law. Shifting gears to our side here on the national level, we have assigned from our team a direct liaison for everyone from New York to call directly Miss Sherry Owens here at our national office. So anyone watching this video can reach out to Sherry at any time, and she will be glad to help you out and give you answers to a lot of those questions. So Miss Sherry, if you'd introduce yourself.
Well, hi to all of y'all. I appreciate y'all coming in here to join us today. I am Sherry Owens, and I am your contact for all the New York bowling centers. So you'll see my contact information is currently on the screen right now. We've worked hand in hand with the New York State BPA as they initiated this training course on sexual harassment prevention for all bowling center employees. If you have any questions regarding this on-demand training, or if on the online education that we offer, please feel free to reach out to me directly by phone or by email. Always happy to help. So just give us a call or give me an email, and we'll get your questions answered and hopefully get all of this taken care of for you.
Well, thank you, Sherry. She's going to be a very important piece to getting your employees into compliance with this new law, as she will direct you. Any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. We look at ourselves as an extension of your staff to help you get into compliance on not just anti-harassment, but several different types of courses, which Gerald will be talking about here in just a minute. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to hit mute for a good while and let Gerald Morrow walk you through the process of the entire on-demand program and actually show you some of this program that we have put together at the request of the New York State bowling proprietors. So Gerald, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kelly, and thank you, Kathy, Brian, and Sherry, for having me on today to help you guys kind of walk through this for your members. Again, I know that sometimes getting started with some training can seem overwhelming. I came from the centers, and it was always, where do I start? So this program is pretty easy to get in there and get started and help you onboard your team members. And when we're talking about onboarding and stuff, that's really what our focus is, especially trying to help you meet the requirements of the New York State law that was just passed. And we're going to be focusing on that on-demand training. As Kelly and Sherry had mentioned, there's other education available, and you can always reach out to Sherry directly, and she can explain that for your management teams as well. But today we're focusing on those new hires, the frontline staff, and basically every team member, just because of the New York State requirements. And explaining the program, and we're going to kind of move through some of this pretty quickly. This is a one-time center registration, and for those of you that have registered for the webinar, your center, we've already located your center, made sure your center is registered, so you guys will be ready to rock and roll, and you'll be getting an email from Sherry after the webinar as far as how to get into the program if you're not sure, and the 3 easy steps that you can share with your team. But just briefly, again, there's a course library. Each of the courses give you a 2-week deadline to complete the course. And these are really about onboarding and compliance courses to develop to help you meet those requirements for the New York State Sexual Harassment Prevention Training. Again, there's some other compliance courses with bowling center safety and some customer service talking about telephone etiquette. And we're going to kind of go right through that center registration process just so that way, if for some reason somebody that's not on the webinar today goes back and watches this, they know how to register their center and get started. So you go to Bowling University, you'll see under the online education, there's the on-demand training. Click on that link and it takes you right here to the page for all the on-demand. Click on the center registration link and you go from there. Asks a few questions. What happens is Sherry and I will receive that email. We'll set your center up. We just ask that you give us sometimes 48 hours because if it's over a holiday or weekend, but usually within a couple hours, your center's set up and ready to go. And again, for those of you that are registered for the webinar, we've taken care of this for you. You don't have to register your center. You're going to get an email from Sherry after the webinar showing you those 3 simple steps to get your team started. And some of those steps, some centers right now are taking them and they're printing out the email and posting it in the center. Some of them are emailing it directly to their staff to get them started, and we'll give you some resources there. But let's take a couple minutes here and let's walk through the 3 steps that your employees and yourself will go through as you start to access this program. Step 1 is going to be, they're going to go to a website. Don't worry about copying that down. Like I said, you're going to get an email with that. It's going to land them on a page that looks similar to this. It's just that easy. First name, last name, email address, and then the code. The code is going to be your BPAA member number. And as I mentioned, in the email that you'll receive, it will have your code in there. And that code is important because what that does is it puts your center employees on your team, and it's specifically important and definitely a major part of being able to access that course library in the New York centers, because only New York bowling centers are going to see this sexual harassment prevention training in their course library. That's kind of what that course library looks like. So you're like, okay, how do I get there once I'm in the software? Once you log in, this is a simple dashboard that all students will see. Over at the top corner, you'll see a course library. And in that course library, if you'll notice, the second course in is the New York State Sexual Harassment Prevention Training course. And that's where that code comes into play. If they don't use the code and they log in, they won't see that course. So that code is important to make sure that employee is registered under your bowling center, which is under the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association, so that course will be visible to them. All of the other courses that are in that library are visible to any other bowling center that has access to the subscription service. As you'll see, there's bowling safety in there, there's telephone etiquette, there's another anti-harassment course, which is part of your sexual harassment prevention training for New York. That one is geared for all the other states out there, but you guys have one that's specific and it's branded for New York State, and it's called the sexual harassment prevention training as compared to the anti-harassment. Once they click on that course, like I said, it's easy for them to get going. There's a green start button there. They'll click that go button and they're off and going. As you'll see, there's different modules within the course. They can't skip around in the course. Each module is locked until they complete the previous module. They can't fast forward through videos. They've got to pass all the quizzes and things like that. So it's there. It's keeps them on pace, on track. And also, as Brian had mentioned earlier, once they complete it, they're compliant for 365 days in the system. About 90 days out from when they will fall out of compliance, they'll start receiving emails that remind them to go back and take the course so that way they can remain in compliance. On the Bowling University website, just for a reference, this section here is all about on demand, and this gives you all of the little details and where you can find some resources and some guides, and as a student be able to log back in if you haven't taken the courses, and as a manager there's a manager's resource template there and you can download it. It's just a Word doc. You can take it and modify it and make it specific for your bowling center and put your code in there and probably make the letter shorter and maybe a little more robust compared to what we have here. But this is just the template to get you guys started that you can share with your team members and explain that, hey, this has to be done and what courses you want them to take. Again, all of them are listed there. You can take out what you want and use it however you feel best for your bowling center. Getting into some basic suggested best practices that we've seen from other bowling centers, not just New York centers, but most of them are trying to get their employees to complete these training courses. Again, there's about 10 of them in there within those first 2 weeks, and maybe it's within that probationary period that you might have listed in your handbook. For your existing staff, some of them are incentivizing them to do other courses. With you guys, your hands are tied. You've got to make sure that you're in compliance with New York State law and regulations. So, hey, existing members have to at least take that sexual harassment prevention course. And then you can always add this to your employee handbook as a standard and part of your onboarding and training process. And when you look at that onboarding process, even at a small center, you may not think that you're onboarding, but you are. You're bringing somebody onto your team and making them a part of your staff. So quickly, I'm going to show you how you can break down and get through all 10 of these courses in a matter of 4 days, just spending approximately 2 hours of training per day on these courses. So if we take day one, of course, you got to do the New York Sexual Harassment Prevention Training course, and then I would toss in the Bowling Center Safety Training course. So they can spend this time, go through this. The harassment course is about 30 minutes. The Bowling Center Safety course is approximately 1 hour. So you got about an hour and a half there that you can let them sit in front of a computer. You can give them a tablet. You can set up a station there in the center. And at that time, after they completed those, then you can walk them around, introduce them to the team, talk to them about some of the stuff that they may have referenced in the safety training course. Make sure they're signing and completing all their paperwork, of course, all your tax forms. And then, two, giving them the opportunity to have that discussion with the management team to make sure that they understand the sexual harassment prevention training and understand and ask any questions. Give them that opportunity to ask questions, document it so that way you have a record that, hey, they've taken the course, they've had an opportunity to ask questions, and then move forward. And then you can layer on whatever else you want to do in day 1 of training from there. Day 2 of training, begin with the shift with talking about telephone etiquette. Let them take that course of social media awareness, and then the intro to service standards, which is basic customer service. So we're kind of layering on that customer service after we started with a little bit of compliance training. And then, hey, maybe they're going to shadow somebody on day 2. Again, you can layer in, this is just kind of a framework where you can start to see how you can get your team started and start to onboard somebody in pretty much 4 days of some online training. You can sit them down and do it all in one. It's completely up to you. The tools are there. We've provided you these tools, and you can use them how you see fit. Day 3, the CPR courses. There's 2 CPR courses in the on-demand online training. One is for adults, and it talks about adults and everybody, and the other one's geared specifically towards infants. Both of these courses are based on the American Red Cross and the Heart Association, so it kind of gives them an idea of what to do if an emergency happens. We all hope we never have to deal with one, but at least it gives them an idea of what to do depending on their level of experience. Then the other course is Navigating and Reducing Customer Complaints. That's approximately going to take you between the 2 CPRs and the complaints course. That's 2 hours, again, of training right off of beginning day 3, and then you can layer on your training after that as far as in-center, center-specific, position-specific, and make sure they understand your policies and procedures. Day 4, we're talking about promoting sales inside your bowling center, and in food and beverage sales and service. Again, approximately 2 hours between those couple courses. Some of these courses may take a little longer, maybe a little less, depends on sometimes how quickly a person reads. And if they struggle with a quiz, they can't move on in the course until they pass that quiz or that section of questions. And then after day 4, then you can talk about some of that continuing education. Maybe they're growing and developing. Maybe you've identified them after their first 30 days. You've identified them as, hey, this person's going to be a supervisor or a team leader. And then you can start to move them into the education courses. And again, you can have that discussion or email or reach out to Sherry after the webinar to find out what those are designed and geared towards. So that kind of runs you through those days. Wanted to show you a couple of just clips from the New York portion of the sexual harassment prevention training. As you'll see, there's going to be stuff on screen. These are video based, so there's going to be video. They're going to be hearing the information and also seeing the bullet points on screen. They're going to go through and, again, referring back to ask your ownership, have discussions. There's going to be additional resources available within the course in the download section. And as Kathy had mentioned, there's also going to be stuff that's available with a link that'll take you to the New York site. So that way, if there's more detailed information that they're looking for, it even touches on the supervisor's responsibility. And as a frontline person, sometimes they don't always understand what's the responsibility of the supervisor. So it kind of gives them an insight to what's the responsibility based on what New York state law requires, and that requires the mandatory reporting. So it talks a little bit about that. And then it talks about how they can reach out if they have questions, and the website and the New York State Division of Human Rights, and if they have to file a claim, and where the website is and all that kind of information. So it gives them a little bit of information. Again, this is going to be broken down. It's going to be in a video format, so that way they're not sitting and reading the whole time. There are going to be quizzes and questions, and followed up by a scenario-based question and assessment. So they'll go through some assessments with some scenarios and have to be able to answer those questions. So at this time, we're going to open it up to see if we have any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Kelly, bring you back on. You had a few minutes there to recharge, and I'm sure I've just kind of flew through it, so I'm sure we'll have some questions.
Oh, you do. You do have a couple of questions here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, you just want a break. I hear you. Actually, this first question, I think I'm going to throw to Sherry. It says the question came. They've already taken their first courses, and how do they log back in to get back in again? There seems to be some. They've had some trouble getting into that. I know it's kind of an advanced question right off the bat, but Sherry, how do they get back in? Oh, hang on, Sherry. I got to unmute you. That's my fault. There you go. Now you can hear you. Oh, now we can hear you. Well,
Sherry?
try again. Why is it not letting me unmute Miss Sherry here?
There you go.
There we go.
Hi there. He just had to let me talk. But super easy because you're going to go back to the original on-demand site. And just click on student login. So many have tried to go back to registration again, and they can't because they're already registered. So just click on student login, and you will be using your email as your username. And you created a password the initial time, when you initially registered. So just put that in, and you'll come right up to your account.
Gerald, that's actually live showing what on screen what Sherry was describing there. So you go to the bowlinguniversity.net on demand as you click there, Gerald, and then you click on that student login. Do not re-register. It won't let you do that. That's basically the premise there is that you won't be allowed to do that. Another question just came in here. And it is from Mike. What did I do with there? It is. Set it down. It says. How long does the New York State course specific to New York State anti-harassment, the New York State Sexual Harassment Prevention Training course, how long does that take to complete? And actually, if I think, Brian, you've already taken this course. How long did it take you?
It took me 32 minutes.
30. Oh, very specific. I wasn't expecting that specific.
Approximately.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's probably going to take at least 45 minutes.
Okay. How about you, Kathy?
I'd say I was probably a little over 30 minutes, but I found the flow of the presentation was great. Good information and easy to follow.
Right, and it's understandable to meet all of the specific needs that the state of New York, their legislation required. There was some extra pieces that had to be added, which make it that time. And 30 minutes is still a fairly short amount of time, because I know, Gerald, you talked about how long it would take some of the other courses, but you didn't mention how long it would take on just that specific to New York's course. I would hope somebody would take more than just that course, because all of the courses are very valuable to your team and helping grow your business through those on-demand programs as a solution to your training needs. Those are the two questions that I had, Gerald. I don't have any else that came in, unless there's any other questions that come in as we're here. Otherwise, we can go ahead and wrap this thing up.
You were talking about the timing of some of the courses. And
hang on, Gerald. Try it now, Gerald.
All right, there you are. Yeah, I had a little echo there. Yeah, you were talking about the timing of some of the other courses, and specifically the New York State Sexual Harassment Prevention Training being approximately 30 to 45 minutes. Some of the other courses in there, like I'd mentioned, the telephone etiquette course, that course is fairly short, can take approximately 15 minutes. So the longer courses, we're talking about bowling center safety, that's going to be approximately an hour. And then we have the food and beverage sales and service course, and that one takes approximately about an hour. Again, that course is not just designed specifically for people that are working in your food services. That course will help team members understand that, hey, if I have to go over there and help take orders, or I've got to run food down to a lane, kind of to be more efficient with things like that. So a lot of us know, hey, if I take a drink down to a lane, I'm going to take a straw, or if I take French fries, I should take salt and ketchup. But a lot of our employees that we're hiring now, it's just not in their thought process. They don't understand that. So that course there will help with that. The CPR courses, we're looking at about 30 minutes each. And the social media awareness course, that one's a really short course. It's a 10-minute course. And a lot of times we're talking about social media and we're thinking, what is it and all this? And excuse me, this course just kind of explains and sets a broad understanding to you, your employees and your team that, hey, I should be conscious of what I post on my social media, because if I post and I have on my social media page that I work at this bowling center, that can be a representation of that bowling center. So I want to make sure that I post things that are appropriate, because once it's out there on the internet, it's out there on the internet. What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas anymore. It's all over the internet. So that course just kind of gives them an awareness. And then if a center has a social media policy, then you can explain that specifically for your location.
Thanks, Gerald. Appreciate helping fill in some of those gaps there on those questions. I just want to circle back to where Kathy started this whole thing when she mentioned something that we haven't mentioned since, the importance of how much this costs you. Every center that is a member of the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association, the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association is paying all of the costs for you to take any of these courses, including, of course, the New York State Anti-Harassment course. So not just the one course for one person, for everyone on your staff, every course that's available through the Bowling University is paid for under a negotiated price by the New York State Bowling Association. So as a member of their association, all of these courses that we're mentioning and the education program, which is for managers and supervisors and potential superstars that you want to move up the ladder in your organization, we haven't even talked about that, but all of those have purchased for you by the New York State Bowling Proprietors Association. So we hope that you take advantage of this member benefit that they are investing in their members for you as members. Final note, you see Sherry's your New York contact. If you want to jot that information down so you can reach out to her, we hope that she gets inundated with calls and emails from New York, so that we can get you guys all started. You don't need to talk to us. You can go straight to the website and do all of this on your own. That's the ease of the program. Anybody who signs up from New York, we know that you're part of the subscription service, and you will not be billed in any way, shape, or form. You'll just be automatically accepted. So hopefully this was valuable to you, and the information was something that you can take back to your organization and implement for your compliance to New York State laws, and hopefully some other opportunities for education and training within your organization. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we hope to see you guys all registered in the program. Thank you again.